I'd like to welcome John Peto, Director of Education at the Nerve Centre, to launch what we were talking about earlier, the Future Classrooms Mobile Handbook, and tell us a little bit more about the work of Creative Learning Centres.
Thanks very much, Sarah. I can see an awful lot of marzipan in the room here, so I'll try and keep this brief because I know everybody's quite hungry. But the purpose of what we've been about this morning is really looking at how the workforce, the changing demands of the workforce, is impacting on education, and how education can react to those changes, respond to those changes, and start to deliver not just technical skills but creative skills to young people in schools. And that's really key to what we've been doing in Creative Learning Centres. It's great to hear various speakers talking about Ken Robinson as well, because Ken Robinson, his ears should be burning. He actually takes some of the credit for the fact that the Creative Learning Centres exist. He was involved in DCAL's Unlocking Creativity strategy 12 years ago now, which was involved and provided the launch pad which gave birth to the Creative Learning Centre. So it's partly thanks to Sir Ken that we're here today anyway. So just add to the glowing tributes for him. But what we're trying to do is respond to this changing demand in technology. The Creative Learning Centres have been working for almost 10 years now around digital media, creative education, creative technology. And in the last 12 months, the playing field has changed radically, in the last 2 years certainly, around the advent of mobile devices. An awful lot of our work is now focused around mobile devices, providing support and structure for schools in how mobile devices are used, how you can look at the various issues around their deployment in an educational context. You've seen a couple of the films already this morning which have shown what I think we probably already know. Young people, young learners are highly engaged, highly motivated, really react positively around mobile devices and see them as something which can engage them in learning, which they might not otherwise be that enthusiastic, that keen to be engaged in. And within the education system that we have, I can assure Bro that there will be an app which will help you create a business plan as part of your output from education, as well as getting your GCSEs and your A-levels. But we are looking at working with schools on how we can use mobile devices to actually build in whole school improvement, curricular development, curricular strengthening. That's what we've been trying to do. Those case studies we've seen look at how the work engages students. We have another couple of case studies to look at some of the practical steps that you need to put in place around how the mobile devices are rolled out in schools, how you can use them to educate, engage and inform, both from teaching perspectives and from student perspectives, because there are all sorts of questions that are arising around mobile devices, and this is the first time, probably in our experience of only 10 years, that we've had a movement where students and parents are actually pushing for the adoption of these devices, and the pressure's coming down on schools from outside to adopt these devices. And schools are buying devices not always with a completely clear idea and strategy of how to use them, how best to use them. And one of the kind of paradoxes of the iPad and Android devices is their very beauty. The reason that they're so popular is because they're the technology is unobtrusive, it's invisible technology, and they're so user-friendly until you're trying to deploy multiple devices at the same time. You've got issues around connectivity, networking, getting data off the machines, storing the machines, paying for them, insuring them. So we're trying to provide very practical advice on how you as schools and educators can adopt this technology and make it work in the classroom that we have today, within the infrastructure that we have today, and within the curriculum that we have today. The Creative Learning Centres have been positioned in the last 10 years as impartial. We're publicly funded, we don't have any commercial interest at all. We're ETI inspected and evaluated, and we're trying to work along the same levels as yourselves in schools. And we're involved in input to the curriculum around ICT accreditation levels, moving image arts, and other projects that we work on with SIA that you'll hear a bit more about later on. So we wanted to use today as an opportunity to show you some of the things that we've learnt with you as schools around mobile devices, how mobile devices can be deployed in schools, to answer some of the problems that you have and to give you something very practical to take away. So first of all, we're just going to look at a slightly more in-depth case study around mobile devices in primary schools, and how a case study school from Bangor Integrated Primary, is using mobile devices to support literacy and numeracy skills in their students.
We introduced mobile devices into school very recently because we wanted to explore how we could develop the creative side within the classrooms.
The school introduced iPads to really integrate ICT into literacy and numeracy on a daily basis, and that's very difficult to do at the minute with just one C2K machine in many of the classrooms.
We visited other schools, we talked to other colleagues, we talked to the staff from Studio One, and as a result of all that, and with the backing of our Board of Governors, we decided to go for it, and we decided to roll it out as a pilot project this year in each key stage, Year 1, Year 4 and Year 7.
We have just started using iPads to help us achieve some of the SEA tasks, which are some of them are very time consuming. So we have had a lot of support from Studio One. They've come in and helped us with one task in particular, amazing animation. So we were able to link the iPad to a tripod and then use iStop motion.
I have seen positive benefits for certain children in my class who have autism, and in particular for a child who has ADHD. They are attracted to the iPad because it's technology. But not only that, he is a bit reluctant to hold a pencil. So for his pencil control, his letter formation and his phonological awareness, the iPad has been essential for him because he can work independently on his own without the support of the teacher or the classroom assistant. Other teachers who take children who are gifted and talented are currently using Book Creator to develop their literacy skills above and beyond what they're getting in the classroom.
I think the most important thing is to invest time in training the staff, and that could be an obstacle if schools didn't invest that time initially. I think it's very important to research how they're going to be used and how they will link to the curriculum. We decided then every Monday that teachers would come in and have an app of the week. It has to complement, reinforce or introduce the learning intention for maths or literacy. And then I'm able to look at those apps and look at how they link and make sure that they're in daily planners and weekly planners so that I can see how everybody is using the iPads across the curriculum and across year groups. Using iPads have really motivated the children. They don't even realise they're learning, and they are so focused and enthusiastic about using iPads.
And it's been motivating both, not just for the children, but the staff have been enthused and enjoying and seeing the benefits of it. So I think that's probably been one of the most exciting things for me to be involved in.
Our learning from these projects has been very clear, and we've put in a suggested route map for schools to follow in terms of rolling out a deployment of mobile devices in classrooms in large numbers or in small numbers. You'll hear a little bit more about that in a moment. But there are 5 key steps really to take. This has to be a management and planned, driven process from the top. Really, you can't just parachute the devices into the school and expect them to work. It needs to be a thought out and considered process to go through. Our experience has shown it's essential that this is integrated into your existing whole school development program. It can't just be an add-on, an optional extra that you're doing, again, because it's engaging and works at that level. It requires CPD for teachers specifically around the devices, as well as the use of the devices in the curriculum. Again, although they're easy to use, they're not easy to use in bulk. They're not easy to use when you're trying to manage apps on and off machines for different areas of the curriculum, when you're trying to move them around the building and keep them charged, keep them safe, and make sure they're not broken. So specific training around that. It also requires enthusiasm from the staff. I think the staff have to buy in and embrace this process because there's added burdens to it. It's new work, it's additional work that has to be done, and the staff really have to support it and drive it through the school. And the final piece of the jigsaw that's come through very strongly in our work around this is that parents and guardians need to be involved in this process. If you can give them information at the outset, keep them involved in what's happening, then it really drives it from in school and out of school and ensures a successful deployment. We're going to see a second case study here now which looks at a post-primary school and a sort of a wider scale rollout.
It's a very natural step for us to take to look at the next developments within ICT. Mobile devices we learned about, we researched them, we received advice from Studio One, and we decided that this was a step worth taking. So we identified a pilot group of pupils and we bought in a set of devices so that we could use them in school and trial them and see exactly how they worked.
The initial challenges involved with setting up the iPads in school were the storage, the security and the maintenance of the iPads. Now luckily the school invested in the iPad cart.
We have had a long relationship with Studio One, which I think helped at the outset. And when we decided to take the step forward into mobile devices, they worked with us very closely, helped us, guided us, set up the inset for teachers.
The impact of the iPads was very positive, and surprisingly so. Although of course the children felt very privileged and even a little bit spoilt to have this technology, it also really helped their learning.
We had a special evening for parents when we brought them into school and introduced them to the work that we were going to do during the year using the mobile devices. We had them sit during that evening with their children. We gave the devices out and the children showed their parents what the devices could do and how to use them.
The children learned intuitively, quickly, also because they were using different apps in different departments, whereas I was just teaching French. They brought to the French classroom a lot of knowledge and ideas, creative ideas that they were able to bring into my subject.
And it's improving their attainment just because they're paying more attention and they're more excited and they're engaging more with the actual iPad itself and the subject or the topic we're doing because they're using this piece of cool technology.
And I think sometimes they did the exercises and learnt French by default. Wasn't their intention to learn French, but it happened because they enjoyed using the app so much.
Thankfully, management within my school involved me from day one. When they decided they wanted to get the iPads in school, they involved me in the process, which I found very helpful because then it let me know what their expectations was.
I felt confident enough in myself about the technology and about using the iPads, but I was quite nervous about using it with a class and using it as a teaching tool. It is daunting when you have a class who probably know more about using an iPad than you do, but the technology's there, the information's there, and it's just about taking time to be prepared with it. The Creative Learning Centres have been very helpful, coming out to school to do days as well, going through some of the apps with us in a lot of detail, showing us what's there.
If I was to give any advice to teachers of how we do it, and don't be scared of it.